Your
It's
Honor,
not.
the date is going to be December the 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, where would you all like to start this afternoon?
We could start with Alpharetta.
Okay,
Position number 3.
position number 3,
I want to know.
Mr. Cajagal, is that correct?
Correct.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. And this is for everyone that's in ACDC and in courtroom 2 as well. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we are providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Mr. Cajagal, you've been charged in case 24 CR 007703D with simple assault family violence. It's my understanding that this is Mr. Cajagal's first arrest. Yes, good afternoon, Miss Allen. You're on mute, Miss Allen.
Thank you. This
You're
is an
welcome.
incident from November the 19th at 300 North Drew Court in Johns Creek. Police documentation revealed that they had previously been at the location on the 18th for an issue between this the young man on Zoom's son and victim Renan and his father, the defendant Jose. Jose had kicked Renan out of the house. When police responded for the second time on the 19th, they encountered the victim outside in the driveway, sitting in his vehicle crying. They asked him to step outside and talk about what was going on. He said he'd come back to the location to get some personal documents after being kicked out of the house. He showed police where he'd called his father multiple times. He said there was no answer. He went to the door. He rang the doorbell. He tried to call his father again. He walked around to the back door and tried to go in. And he reported that when he came back around, his father was pointing a firearm at him through the window. His dad turned the interior porch lights on and continued to point a firearm at his son through the window and told him to leave. They made eye contact. The defendant then turned the light off on the porch and walked back upstairs. The victim reported that this is not the first time his dad has pulled a firearm on him. He specifically identified that it was a Glock 43, which is a 9mm handgun. His dad had both hands on the firearm. And when police spoke to Jose Cajigal, he refused to answer questions about whether he pointed the firearm at his son. Police explained to him that he couldn't just kick his adult son out. He needed to evict him. We have spoke with the victim today, Renan. He reports that he lives there at the location and confirms what happened. He also, again, said this is not the first time that there's been violence or he has had a gun pointed at him by his father. He says that a month ago there was an incident, but the police were not notified about it. And he says he wants the defendant to return to the residence. We'd asked for a $2,000 SOB bond through pretrial, Your Honor, that the defendant be ordered to surrender his firearms, have no violent contact with his son or anyone else in the house, and do some anger management or a law and reason class.
Okay, what's the name of the son, Miss Allen?
Renan is his first name, Renan, same last name, Cajigal.
Okay, if that young man is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I see the family here. You are welcome to address the court. You do not have to if you do not want to. But if you would like to say something to me, I'm happy to listen to you.
Sorry, he was muted.
Okay, so yes, Mr. Renan, if you'll raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you. What would you like to tell me?
I don't have anything to say. I just wanted to know when you can come back home.
Okay. How old are you, sir?
I'm 19.
19, okay. And I take it that you want your father back in the household?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Who's representing? Yes, Mr. McLean. Any objections to any of the requests of the state?
Your Honor, after talking with the defendant, my client, I would suggest that definitely there ought to be no firearms in the home during the pendency of the case. I don't know that they ought to be destroyed. It sounds pretty expensive. I think in the long run, it would be okay to have them back. So I would suggest to modify only their request. Otherwise, I agree with it.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna have him relinquish all the firearms. I'm not gonna have him destroy them, but he has to not have them in the household and relinquish them while this is pending. It's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Renan Kajigo. Relinquish all firearms, as I said, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Okay, good luck to you all.
Position number 5, Ms. Carter.
Okay, who do we have next? I'm sorry.
Number 5, Carter.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Carter. You are charged in case 24 CR 007711F with disorderly conduct. It's my understanding that this is Ms. Carter's first arrest. Good afternoon, Ms. McConkey.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The victim in this case is Quantavious Carter, who is the defendant's husband. The incident location is 2150 Point View Drive in Atlanta. The parties were having a verbal dispute when the defendant began throwing items at the victim, overturned a television set, and tore down a calendar that was on the wall. Officers noted in the warrant that the home appeared to be in a state of chaos when they arrived on the scene, and while the defendant had an abrasion under her eye, she told officers that she was unaware of how it had occurred. Based on both the victim and the defendant's statements, officers determined that the defendant was the primary aggressor. Our office has spoken with the victim in this case, Mr. Carter, who confirmed the events in the warrant, stated that the parties are married, share 3 children, and do live together. Nothing like this has ever happened before. He's not in fear of her, wants to continue contact, and is okay with her coming back to the residence. Based on that and the defendant's limited history, lack of history, that is, the state's recommendation is a signature bond, no further violent contact with the victim, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol. Maybe a day or 2 of anger awareness would also be beneficial for the defendant. And I would ask the court to sound for the victim, Mr. Quantavious Carter.
Mr. Carter is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. I see you there, Mr. Carter. If you'd like to speak to the court, I'll need for you to activate your camera and I'll have to swear you in.
Your Honor, it's not allowing me to turn the camera on.
Okay. Let's see. Can we allow him to activate his camera, Ms. Strong?
I sent the prompt.
Okay, you should have a prompt now, Mr. Carter. Okay, there you go. Very good. Raise your right hand for me, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, Mr. Carter. What would you like to tell the court?
That yes, I would like for her to come home and everything. I agree with the signature bond and everything.
Okay, you're not afraid of her?
No, Your Honor.
And this has not happened before?
No.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr. Carter. Good afternoon, Mr. Cook. Any objections to any of the state's requests?
Your Honor, I got a notice from the solicitor's office that these charges had been NOD'd. Did I?
I think that's on position number 1, bail, is it not?
She did have a simple assault and a simple battery charge, and we did NOD those, and we kept the disorderly conduct.
Oh, okay. No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. As such, it'll be a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further violent contact with Mr. Carter. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mrs. Carter. You also, Mr. Carter.
Your Honor, slight question for you in regards to the firearms. I work in
Um,
law enforcement. I work in law enforcement, and I will have firearms. Is that okay?
Okay,
her to be-
so, yeah, given, you can, have your firearms that you have for your work, I'll allow you to have in the home.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Carter. And you also, Ms. Carter. Would you all like me to go back to the Alpharetta Jail?
Yes, sir. He's position number 14, I think.
Okay, is this Mr. Jalil Williams?
Yes.
Okay, yes, good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
How you doing?
Let's see, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007700E with battery, family violence, and theft by taking. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Seconds. 2017, possession of a Schedule 4, possession of drug-related items.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred at about 10:45 p.m. in Alpharetta at 5503 Cypress Court. This is the residence of the defendant and his brother, as well as, I believe, other family members. And this was from the 18th of November. The brother of this defendant, his name is Jeremiah Williams. He's the victim in this case. Spoke with police on the scene and said that he had woken up at about 3 p.m. that day and saw that his computer was missing. He got up and went out of his bedroom and encountered the defendant, who told him, if you want your computer back, you're going to have to fight me, and then assaulted this young man. The officers on scene saw that the victim had a bandage on his left ear. They asked him about it. He took the bandage off of his ear. Police saw dried blood, a laceration, and some redness as a result of being struck multiple times. He reported that he'd been struck multiple times by his brother. Police went inside the residence and spoke to the defendant, where he admitted that he took the computer from his brother and told his brother he needed to fight him to get it back, because the victim, Jeremiah, needed to learn actions have consequences. No injuries were seen on the defendant, Your Honor. He was taken into custody. We spoke with Jeremiah, the victim in this case. They're brothers, they live together. He confirmed what had happened and said this is not the first time there's been physical violence. He also reported that it was their mother who called the police yesterday because she wanted the defendant to leave the residence. Their father has also had to break them up recently because of a physical altercation. This defendant was born in 1998. He is very much over the age of 18. The victim in this case has reported that they want no contact and for the defendant to stay away from the residence. So if you could sound for Mr. Jeremiah Williams, we're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Stay away from the location there at 5503 Cypress Court in Alpharetta. No contact with Jeremiah, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. The criminal history from 2017 was a felony level drug case, Your Honor, and the defendant completed pretrial intervention, and that case was dismissed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jeremiah Williams is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, let me make, okay, I'm not muted. Your Honor, my client is 26. We don't have any objection to a signature bond. It appears to me, I think my client would probably agree. We did have some discussion that his being 26, if anybody's got to leave, it's got to be him. So it sounds appropriate what the state is proposing.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the theft, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness. No further contact with Mr. Jeremiah Williams. Stay away from the Cypress Court address. You can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Williams.
ACDC, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Judge. This is going to be position number 1, Bell.
Okay, good afternoon. Was there an announcement about position 1?
Yes, Your
Yes,
Honor,
it's a duplicate case, so we just sent over an OPOS.
and I'm in receipt of it, Ms. McCollum.
Okay, so Ms. Bell, good afternoon. This particular case has been null process. Is this the only thing that she has on the calendar today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so this case that's before me today, Ms. Bell, has been null process. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. See you next time.
All right.
Position number 7, Ms. Johnson.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, Ms. Johnson. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007707G with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, 3rd, 2018 shoplifting, 2013 shoplifting. That's it.
Yes, Ms. McCockey.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred back in October on the 19th. The incident location is 6060 Mallory Road in College Park. The victim in this case is Marilyn Wright, who was the defendant's roommate at the time of the incident. The defendant is accused of approaching the victim in an aggressive manner and grabbing her face and her wrist during an argument. The victim, in self-defense, did bite the defendant on her arm and continuously told the defendant to leave her alone and stop grabbing at her face. Officers were able to view video footage that confirmed that the defendant was the primary aggressor and did initiate contact with the victim. Our office has spoken with Ms. Wright, who confirmed the events in the warrant, stated that after this incident, the defendant's grandmother, who owns the residence, kicked her out, and so she no longer lives there. She says this is the first time that her and the defendant have had a physical altercation, and she wants no contact. The state's recommendation will be a signature bond through pretrial services, that the defendant have no further contact with Marilyn Wright, that she undergo some anger awareness, and have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Marilyn Wright if she is on the Zoom.
If Ms. Wright is with us and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean? Mr. Cook, is this your case?
Yes, it is. Your Honor, we would object only to the anger awareness at this point. Beyond that, we have no objection to the state's recommendation.
Okay, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Wright. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
Position number 3, Mr. Kane.
Okay, and this is Eunice Kane.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. I have him as position 4. Mr. Kane, good afternoon. You have been charged with in case 24 CR 007699Y with 2 counts of reckless conduct. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
2nd arrest. Got an open case in state court, simple battery against police. It's 23 CR 003-875Y. Went to felony earlier. That's a $5,000 good bond.
What charge was he in felony for, Mr. Howard? Do you know?
I think it was a pistol charge.
Okay.
Felony possession of an altered gun to make it perform like a machine gun, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen. Go ahead.
This is an incident from October the 11th. When the defendant was arrested, he had outstanding warrants for the charge in felony court, as well as these counts from November the 11th. So on the 11th of, October, on the 11th of October at about 7:25 p.m., an off-duty officer working at the Country Apartments on Fairburn Road, 320 Fairburn Road, heard a loud barrage of gunfire coming from behind the building, went around the back of the building and saw multiple people fleeing. Witnesses on the scene reported that multiple males from the complex had been in a verbal dispute that turned into an altercation, and multiple people pulled firearms and started shooting at each other. Police recovered 53 shell casings on the scene, and there were 3 different vehicles damaged, as well as multiple apartments damaged. a juvenile inside one of the apartments with the initials JE. Had a fire projectile from the firearms, one of the firearms, come through the window of his bedroom and hit an interior door in his bedroom. Video footage of the incident was provided to police, and police were able to follow up with multiple witnesses on the scene, including individuals who had lived there previously and had just arrived to visit, who were able to identify multiple individuals in the surveillance. The defendant in front of you, Mr. Kane, who's 19, was identified as one of the shooters, along with multiple co-defendants. He is on bond right now. He has a $1,000 SOB bond through the jail that he got in June of 2023 from you, specifically stating he's to have no weapons. It required a co-signer, and that's his mom. And that incident is the open simple battery on a law enforcement officer, 23 CR 003875Y. The incident from October the 22nd that created a active warrant this young man was in court for in felony appearance this morning involves him being selling water by the side of the road, officers trying to encounter him, telling him to stop verbally, and then watching him flee. And when he fled, he tossed a firearm. Police got the firearm, and it was seen to be a modified firearm with a machine conversion device on it called a Glock switch. It meets the definition of a federal machine gun. And so that's what he was in first appearance for today. Your Honor, the state's already filed a motion to revoke bond on that open ED case that you signed his bond on last year, that $1,000 SOB through the jail. Today, we'd be asking for a $15,000 cash bond to stay away from the location at 320 Fairburn Road. That's the Country Apartments. No drugs, alcohol, or drugs while on bond, and no weapons, obviously. And we'd be asking for an ankle monitor, Your Honor, if you're not inclined to do a cash bond. We spoke to, and you have multiple counts, Your Honor, specifically because there's an individual who was put in danger, a child, but also this occurred at 7:25 p.m. And the general public living in that location were all put in danger by multiple people firing shots, including this young man. So we'd also like him to be ordered to have no contact with his co-defendants, and I can give you their names. We spoke to the mom of the juvenile, the 11-year-old child who was in his bedroom when this young man fired weapons and a bullet went into the window. She said that the group of people there at the Fairburn Road location are known for this kind of behavior. She doesn't believe a lot of them live there. She says she's fearful, and she's fearful for her safety and the safety of her child. And she says even if there's a no contact ordered, she does not believe that this defendant will stay away. Her name is Accusations Smith, and she's on the Zoom, I believe, if you would just sound for her. Thank you.
Ms. Accusations Smith is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. I don't see her on this Zoom here. Let's see, Mr. Cook.
Yeah. Your Honor, my client is 19 years old. He is not working, so he has no funds to of his own to take care of the bonds. Beyond that, we understand what happened in felony court. We understand the other issues, so we would leave it in the discretion of the court.
How many people do you have, Ms. Allen, that if you could just either sound their names or send those names to
I'll do both.
Ms. Bridgewater?
I just sent 4 names to Mrs. Bridgewater. Flavius Gray, Malik Brown, LaDante Momon, MOMOM, and Antonio White.
All right. I've given this young man apparently one chance. It appears that he not only violated a bond order, but he violated my bond order. I know that I'm very specific in the orders that you're not supposed to have any firearms. As such, for each of these counts, it'll be a $10,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $20,000 good bond. No further contact with the young man that listed by Ms. Allen previously. Stay away from the country apartments on Fairburn Road. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, and if he will have to have an ankle monitor to be released from custody. We'll see him back on the SAP calendar on December 3rd, Mr. Cook. If you want to contact his mother and have her there for me to speak with, at that time, I'll be happy to do so.
I will try, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Kane. Who do we have next?
Number 6, Collins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007706C with theft by shoplifting and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
6 total. You got to open case in Superior Court, 24 PI 007635, selling marijuana, suspended license. Got to open DUI out of Liberty County. We got a fugitive from justice hold out of Colorado and a Liberty County hold. So he'll be going off.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at the Barnes & Noble on the Georgia Tech campus, 48 5th Street Northwest in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of stealing Apple AirPods and a USB cable from the location. When officers attempted to make contact with the defendant, he fled on foot, but was eventually apprehended. Based on the defendant's history, including the fact that he has 2 open cases, it's our position that he is not a good candidate for a signature bond. So the state's recommendation would be a $1,000 surety bond on the willful obstruction, a $500 surety bond on the theft by taking. Stay away from all Georgia Tech property, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 26 years old. He is homeless. He is a disabled vet. So his income is very modest. We understand the restrictions on the obstruction charge, but we would be seeking a bond, a signature bond through pretrial services at whatever level the court deems appropriate. I'm not sure what's going on with the fugitive warrant or whatever it is, but nothing further.
$500 good bond for the obstruction, a $1,000 good bond makes for a total of a $1,500 good bond. He's to stay away from the Barnes & Noble on 5th Street. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Mr. Cook, I'd like for him to have a social worker visit for anything that might assist him as far as housing goes. And if you'll report back to me on the SAP calendar on December 3rd, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Number 12, Mr. Simmons.
Good afternoon, Mr. Simmons. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007710F with simple battery and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
26. Last arrest was, well, you got an open ag stalking, obstruction, suspended license, battery. It's 24 SC 004 600. Got an open case out of the cab, battery DV, simple battery DV, trespass, cruelty in the third, disorderly conduct, FTA. 2023 probation, 2021, 2019 FTA, 2019 trespass conviction. He got 2 bench warrants in Fulton and a hold out of Henry and DeKalb County.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred on the 17th of this month. The incident location is 3464 Roxborough Road Northeast in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of punching the victim, David Cordero, in the face. The victim's friend, a woman by the name of Rachel Hill, was heavily intoxicated at the time of the incident and was behaving aggressively towards the defendant and lunged at him and tried to hit him. The victim was attempting to pull Ms. Hill away from the defendant when security intervened and separated all the parties. After the security officer separated the parties, the defendant decided to follow Mr. Cordero to the elevator and then assaulted him by striking him in the face. The assault was witnessed by the apartment security officer, and as officers were placing the defendant into custody, he attempted to flee on foot. The state's recommendation is based on the defendant's history of violent arrests, FTAs, and he also has a couple of fleeing and attempting to elude officers. There is a likelihood that he will reoffend, and there is also a concern that he will be a flight risk, given those fleeing arrests and also those FTAs. The state's recommendation would be for a $2,500 surety bond, $1,500 on the simple battery, $1,000 on the willful obstruction, no further contact with the victim, David Cordero. We'll also ask that he have no further contact with Ms. Rachel Hill just to avoid any future problems. Stay away from that incident location, that he undergo anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for Mr. David Cordero.
If Mr. Cordero is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client, 33 years old. He's a graduate of high school at Stockbridge High School. His grandfather owns a gas station, and so he's basically been his second person, his right-hand person, his manager for years, a decade. I realize the arrest record is what the arrest record is. I would ask the court to consider signature bond, of course. I would also ask the court to consider if a signature bond is not in the offing, then a very, very low surety bond. He does have stability. This person, Mr. Cordero, is a stranger to him. There's no reason for them to run into each other. Stay away is not a problem. His address is stable. His family is supportive. I would ask the court to consider signature bond or 1,000 surety.
All right, for each charge, it'll be a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Cordero or Ms. Hill. Stay away from the Roxborough Road address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Simmons.
Number 8.
Mr. Candy Ketla, you have been charged in case 24 CR 007708G with battery family violence. It's my understanding that this is his first arrest. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This occurred on the 18th at 2418 Bristol Place in Johns Creek. The victim in this case is Navanitha Chinthukunta. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. She is the defendant's roommate. The defendant is accused of scratching and hitting the victim, which caused visible marks on the victim's body. The victim also told officers that the defendant threw her against the wall. Our office has had a chance to speak with the victim, who told us our office that the defendant becomes aggressive towards her when he drinks. She states that the defendant was intoxicated at the time of the incident. They had gotten into an argument because she asked him for a date for when he would move out because he has been verbally abusive and aggressive towards her. She stated this is the first time the defendant has been physically aggressive towards her. She states she's not in fear of him. She is okay with no further violent contact, and she is okay with the defendant returning to the residence. Given the fact that this is his first arrest, the state's recommendation will be a signature bond through pretrial services. We have spoken with the defendant and with the victim and understand her request. However, based on the facts of this case, the fact that it just happened so recently, and her stating that the defendant has been verbally abusive and aggressive towards her in the past, we think it is in the best interest of these parties that they just have no contact at this time. So we are asking for no further contact, stay away from the incident location, that he undergo some anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I believe Ms. Chintha Kuntha is on the Zoom, so if we could please sound for her.
Hi, I would just like to take a look at him. It's been like 2 days, so
Okay, hold on a second
I-
for me. Ma'am, I'm here, but if you'd like to testify, I need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I would like to know where he is, and if there is any way I could help him out in getting out of it, and living safely. That's how I would like to assist him for that.
Okay, so you've been
And I
having.
would not want to press any criminal charges or anything on those lines towards him as well.
Okay, so let's start first with your living arrangements. It's my understanding that you've been having some problems with him prior to this time. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and at this point in time, on this date, it got physical. Is that right? Okay, are you afraid of him at the present time?
No, I
Okay,
just
and
want him to live peacefully, and so that it does not affect his career or lifestyle.
Okay, anything further, ma'am?
No, I just want to know the process, how I could contact and help him
Okay,
out.
well,
Because we are the only two people we know each other. We are the only people we know. So yeah, if there is any signature bond or anything related on those lines, I would like to be there for that person. That's it.
Okay, well, at this point in time, the state is requesting that you all have no further contact. And if you don't have any contact with him, that means that you're not going to be able to personally be able to help him, to help him out, or otherwise he'd be in violation of any bond order that I have, okay? So at this point in time, I'm going to order that he not have any contact with you, and that he's going to be able to have a one-time escort to come back and retrieve any belongings that might be in your household. But other than that, at the present time, he's not going to be able to have any contact with you or be in that residence. You understand?
I understand.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you being here this afternoon, ma'am. Mr. Cook?
Yes, understand the court's position, so we would have no objection to a signature bond. And then the court's already stated its position on the conditions, so we'll go
Okay.
from.
All right, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with the alleged victim, stay away from the Bristol residence. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond, which means that you can have no alcohol, sir. So if you do partake in alcohol, you'll be in violation of this bond order and it can be revoked. Do you have something further for the court, ma'am?
Yes, can the signature bond amount go down so that I can afford to help them?
He's not going to have to pay anything. He's going to be able to sign his own bond, so he's going to be able to sign himself out. Okay, so you're not going to have to assist with any monetary amount. You understand?
I understand.
Okay, all right, you're welcome. Good luck to you both.
Position number 10.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lovett. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007709B with 2 counts of battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard? Oh, so it's first arrest is my understanding. Yes, Ms. McConkey.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened back on the 11th of this month. The incident location is 864 Cleveland Avenue, Atlanta. The victim in this case is Richard Spivey. The defendant is accused of assaulting his ex at the Murphy's gas station. The victim had been confronting the defendant about not being able to contact him, which angered the defendant, and then he proceeded to attack the victim by punching him several times and throwing him to the ground. Officers observed that the victim's eye was swollen shut and that he had fresh blood on his face. The attack at the gas station was caught on camera, and the victim also told officers that the defendant had rammed his car into the victim's car, stood on his windshield, and also broken his TV. Officers told him to report the hit and run accident, so there may be further charges coming. I know this is the defendant's first arrest, but the allegations and the facts in this case are concerning. So the state's recommendation will be for a $1,000 good bond, that he have no further contact with the victim, that he undergo anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Richard Spivey is with us and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Okay, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, my client is 24 years old. His education passed high school for a year in nursing field and also cosmetology at Vidalia Southeastern Technical College, or rather the Southeastern Technical College. I believe it's probably part of the university system in Vidalia. Your Honor, he has worked at the city of East Point for a couple of years for the water department. Before that, Fayetteville City Water Department. Before that, for a construction company. And he's been a forklift operator, so he's quite industrious. He's 24 years old. As it is his first arrest, we would like the court to consider the signature bond. He will, let's see, he's got a Covington address that I checked out on Googling and everything. It seems like a stable address and one that he will receive his mail at. Thank you.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Spivey, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Lovett.
Number 13, Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007702H with battery family violence, criminal trespass, and damage to property, and simple battery family violence. It's my understanding that this is Mr. Williams' first arrest. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred yesterday on the 18th at about 10:30 in the morning. Police were called to 352 King Street. There they met with the victim. Her name is Jana Wright. That's Jannah. The police on their way to the location were notified that a female caller reported she'd been struck in the eye. On scene, they spoke to Ms. Wright. She said that she'd been staying at the location with the defendant for a period of time. And today he became angry with her when she refused to sleep in the same bed with him, and he demanded that she leave. They argued. When police spoke to the defendant, he admitted pushing the victim, shoving her because she was taking too long to move out. The victim was seen to have a laceration on the inside of her upper lip, and she reported being injured and having pain in her eye as a result of being struck. She said that the defendant grabbed her around the back of her neck in a chokehold and took her down to the ground. And while in the chokehold, that's what caused the laceration to her lip. He also threw her suitcase outside and poured a bunch of lotion and some other unidentified liquid all over her clothing. The defendant claimed that the victim's braces on her teeth are what caused her injury, not him grabbing her around her neck. We've spoke to Mrs. Wright today. She said that she and the defendant were friends and she'd been staying with him. She confirmed what happened, reported that this was not the first time the defendant had been violent with her and that she'd previously called 911. She reported that she's left the location and she'd like no contact. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, Your Honor. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no contact with Mrs. Jana Wright. And if you'd sound for Mrs. Wright, she's on the Zoom.
Ms. Wright, I see you there. If you would like to address the court, now would be your opportunity to do so. I would need for you to activate your camera for me, and I'll have to swear you in. There you go. If you could raise your right hand for me, ma'am. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down, Ms. Wright. What would you like to tell the court?
Well, as far as the lacerations and the chokehold, the lacerations I got from my braces, that was from the impact of the hit toward my face. When he had me on the chokehold and he took me down to the ground, I had injured my knee. This is the third injury I've had in total. The second injury on the right knee, first injury was on the left knee. So this time around, it's really bad. When he had me in the headlock chokehold, in that moment, I could feel and hear my neck cracking in different places. So now that it's the day after, I'm experiencing a lot of bodily aches. So yes, I also had recorded what I could, and I had given that footage to the officers to back up what I was telling them with him getting in my space and me already trying to leave and him provoking the situation.
Okay. Thank you for being here, Ms. Wright. Let's see. You no longer live at the King Street address?
Well, I was staying there, but no, I'm no longer there. I had left that day.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you being here this afternoon. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor. Let's see, the state's recommendation was what again?
It was a signature bond through pretrial.
Right. I agree. That's what I thought. With the appropriate conditions, that is exactly what it should be. It's not a problem with the address, and with proper amount of counseling, this will work. Thank you.
Okay, for the battery, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the criminal trespass, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the simple battery, a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $6,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1 day anger awareness. No further contact with Ms. Wright. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Williams. You as well, Ms. Wright.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who do we have next?
Position number 9.
There you go.
And this is Mr. Lascaris, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007704J with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers, simple battery against police officers, and theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
43. Last arrest was in August. Trespass, disorderly conduct. On probation for that. 2023. Disorderly conduct, simple assault, that was dismissed. 2023, criminal attempt to commit a felony, simple assault. 2021 FTA. 2021 simple battery conviction. 2020 shoplifting conviction. 2020 obstruction, theft by taking conviction. 2019 trespass conviction. 3 FTAs from 2019. 2018 shoplifting conviction, trespass conviction, and shoplifting no loss.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at the Nordstrom Rack located at 3495 Lenox Road Northeast in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of stealing a bottle of Coke and a crossbody bag from the Nordstrom Rack. While on scene, he told officers that they were going to have to work that day and that they would need to drag him out of the store. The defendant then refused to walk and had to be carried out by officers. As they were carrying him out, the defendant spit on Kenny Abuski, who was one of the loss prevention officers, and also spit on Officer T. Ho. Based on his extensive criminal history, there is a likelihood that he will reoffend. The state's recommendation is a total $2,000 surety bond. Stay away from that incident location. No further contact with Kenny Abuski. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Is that 500 per charge, Ms. McConkey, or how do you want me to break that down?
Yes, that'll work. 500 per charge.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 43 years old. Has neither a telephone nor is he employed. So any money bond would be difficult for him to make. So we would simply ask the court to keep whatever bond as low as possible.
Okay, it'll be a $500 good bond on each charge, makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. Stay away from the Nordstrom Rack on Lenox Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Position number 2, Benton, is a medical reset. Position number 11 is a Middleton, is a medical reset. He's still out at Grady. And I want to ask about Mr. Thomas, Quentin Thomas. He's not on the calendar.
Was that Quintavious Benton at the medical reset?
Yes, that's what I said.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Thomas was a felony transfer.
Thank you.
So Mr. Middleton was a reset medical yesterday as well.
Yes, and he's still at Grady.
Okay, so both Mr. Benton, position 2, and Mr. Middleton, position 11, will be reset until tomorrow. That's 11:20. Okay, does that complete the 2 o'clock calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got a Reginald Jordan. Did I miss something on him?
He's also a felony transfer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is December the 3rd. Position number 1 was no pros. Position 2 is a medical reset till tomorrow. Position 3 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $20,000 good bond. 5 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. 6 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,500 good bond. 7 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 8 reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 9 is reset to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. 10 reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 11 is a medical reset till tomorrow. 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 13 is reset further notice with a total $6,000 SOB through pretrial. And 14, hold on, let me look through my paperwork. Is total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Thank you.
Okay, if not, thank you all. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Be
And
safe
thank
out
you all
there.
for such a great day.
I'll see y'all on Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Then.